كورس ثيرابيوتكس راح نقسم الكورس ويا الدكتور بسمة والدكتور إيضاح مبارك. محاضرات تكون الاثنين والأربعاء. As fifth year students, you need to learn some skills. So we'll start our lecture in general. In my lectures, try to speak in English mostly, and we try to practice in English because you are fifth year students. You are graduating soon, so I need you guys to have some skills in English. After graduation, you need to communicate with a physician. They communicate in English, and if you don't have these skills, there will be barrier between you and the physician. Keep in mind, you need to know how to make sentence, not just the English terms, because I know the spelling. Try to improve your spelling, your pronunciation. Try to listen to YouTube, especially the TED lectures. TED lectures. It's really good to practice for you guys, and you can get any lecture you want. Just listen to English. Try to improve your listening, your spelling, your pronunciation, because you need these skills. If you want to communicate with a physician, if you want to present an international conference, eventually you need these skills. So try to invest in this fifth year. Okay? Do your best to improve your English skills as a pharmacist. Today lecture about pharmacovigilance. You know that pharmaco is related to medication. Vigilance means watching. So we need to watch the medication because this lecture is really about medication safety. Medication safety means we care about the adverse drug effects of the medications. As you know, the medication has two sides. The effective, we need the medication effective, and we need it safe. If we assume it's effective, that's good. But we care about the safety. And as you know, every medication has adverse drug events or adverse drug reactions. In this lecture, I will give you several terms. You need to know those terms, okay? So as objectives, at the end of this study, you need to know the terms: adverse drug events, adverse drug reaction, medication error, pharmacovigilance. We need to know the Iraqi Pharmacovigilance Center and how can we report the medications induce harm. So at the end of this lecture, you need to know those terms, what the difference between those terms, and the role of the pharmacist to prevent any medication-induced harm. Okay? So keep in mind, after you read the lecture, you need to answer or understand every single sentence here in this objective. At the end of your lecture, you should know the clinical trial. What do we mean by clinical trials? Okay? How many steps we need from the development of the disease till the development of the medication until the medication released to the market. Keep in mind, in the US, they don't use term drug. They don't like it because it has bad connotations. Drugs mean illegal drug, okay? Cocaine or those opioids. They usually use medicine, medication, either medicine or medication, okay? Drug, we still use it in the research, but it's not acceptable. Like similar to the term syndicate. Like when I told my friend about Iraqi pharmacy syndicate, he was laughing. I told him, why are you laughing? He says, syndicate, we use only term syndicate for the gangs because it's not, they use term board or association. So it depends on which culture. This term syndicate maybe comes from UK. I have no idea about it. So we try to keep the medication safe, okay? When I say medication safety, our goal as a pharmacist, we need to protect the patient, okay? We need to protect the patient from any, if I need to give you one single term for the I will call it medication-related problems. Related medication problems, any problem related to medication, okay? This is one single term. You will argue with me. You say, why we need to focus about medication safety? Why we should care about this topic? Is it important, and why? I will explain this by numbers. These numbers in the United States, they have stats, they have reports, and the numbers say more than 1.5 million incidents of medication-related problems or harm induced by medication annually, every year, okay? Because they have reports, and they publish the reports, they say more than 1.5 million medication-induced harm incidents, okay? More than 500,000 of preventable adverse drug events. What do you mean by preventable? We can prevent it. Simple. We can prevent. So preventable adverse drug events. You need to know adverse drug events is general term. What do you mean by adverse drug events? It's any unintended medication-induced injury or harm. Okay? So it's general term. Medication-induced harm. We call it adverse drug events. Keep in mind, this is general term. Another numbers, more than 200,000 deaths annually due to medications. So this is the downside of the medications. This is the dark side of the medications, because we know how the medications are helpful, but at the same time, they cause real serious adverse drug events. Can you give me an example about adverse drug events? Any examples?
Prophylaxis.
Adverse drug events could be insulin-induced hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia. Could be bleeding induced by warfarin. Could be fall induced by dizziness due to diazepam. Could be diarrhea induced by antibiotics. Could be allergic anaphylactic shock due to penicillin. Those are adverse drug events. Keep in mind, adverse drug events is not only physical, could be psychological. You know some medications, they cause depression. So and others. So those beta blockers cause depression. Depression is harm, but it's not physical harm, it's psychological harm. And you know the definition of the health by the WHO? What should the person should be physically, socially, and mentally well-being. So when I'm talking about the health, it's not only the physical health, the mental health, the social health. If you are physically healthy, but you are isolated, so you have social problem, you are not healthy anymore. Keep in mind, health is not only physical health, it's mental health, it's social health. That's why when I say adverse drug events, that doesn't to be only physical. It could be dizziness. Dizziness is one of adverse drug events, especially for a driver. If you take diphenhydramine and you had dizziness, you may have an accident. So those are terms you need to know. If we need to divide the cause of adverse drug events, simply they are either preventable or non-preventable. If it's preventable, we call it medication error. Anything preventable, we call it medication error. Can you give me an example about the cause of medication error? It could be dispensing error by the pharmacist. It could be prescribing error by the physician. It could be preparing and administration error by the nurse. This is a scheme from my literature review published in American Journal of Medical Director. I conducted my PhD thesis in nursing homes in Iowa. It's in Midwest in the United States. The final error could be monitoring error. If I ask you a question, what's the difference between administration error and monitoring error at the community against medication error and monitoring error at the hospital? Who is responsible for administrations in the community. يعني بالبيئة منو patients themselves or their caregivers. بالتالي البنت الحجية مو تمام so caregivers. Okay. While at the hospital, we have the nurse, we have the physician, we have other healthcare providers. Okay. So preparation administration error, if it's at home, it's caused by the patient themselves. If it's at the hospital, it's caused by the nurse. Okay? All these errors, we call it preventable medication errors. Those medication errors could be harmful, could be non-harmful. Could you give me an example about non-harmful medication error? It's error, but it doesn't cause injury. For example, if the physician told you to take the amoxicillin every 8 hours and you took it 3 times after meal or every 6 hours, this will not cause you any harm, but it's still administration error. So this is non-harmful medication error. But if you took the wrong dose of amoxicillin, double the dose, and you experience diarrhea, this is the adverse drug events. This is harmful error. So any error is preventable. Keep in mind, any error is preventable. The other side, we have non-preventable. We call it adverse drug reaction. Sometimes we call it side effect. Adverse drug reaction, can you give me an example about adverse drug reaction? It's dry cough caused by cough cocktail. We cannot prevent it. Okay? Any of kind of those we can non-preventable. We call them adverse drug reaction. So both adverse drug reaction and medication errors, if they cause harm, any harm, we call it adverse drug events. How can we identify adverse drug events? How can we know this patient experienced adverse drug events?
By sign and symptoms.
Sign and symptom. We need to review the charts. We need to review the records and sign and symptom.
Lab data.
Lab data and antidote. What do you mean by antidote? If this patient used vitamin K and is already taking the warfarin, so vitamin K is given as antidote for warfarin. So if this patient given vitamin K, we should suspect something wrong happened. Why did he receive the vitamin K? Because he had bleeding. Why this patient received 50% glucose? Because he had hypoglycemia induced. Why this patient received protamine sulfate? Because he had heparin. So something you can tell if you review the chart. One of your role as pharmacist in nursing homes in Iowa, nursing homes mean it's an institution between the hospital and it's for long-term care. For example, if some patients they experience cerebrovascular accident, جلطة دماغية, we cannot discharge directly from hospital to home. We need to make these patients have physical ability again. We need to have the physical therapy, rehabilitation. So, because in the United States they have very expensive healthcare and the health insurance company, because in Iraq we don't have health insurance company, because in Iraq we have public healthcare sector and we have private sector. Public health is free, but for private sector you need to pay out of their pocket. In the United States, they have something called health insurance. You need to pay the money to another company, to third party. And if you are sick, the third party, this company will pay to the provider, will pay to the physician and pharmacist. Okay? So the insurance company in the United States say, I will not reimburse money to hospitalization more than 10 days, for example. But these patients need care. Where should this patient go? We cannot discharge it to the community. So they discharge it to nursing homes. Nursing homes will take care of these patients for 3 months up to 100 days. Make the rehabilitations, physical therapy, become strong again. They will discharge it to the home. My research were about residents of elderly in nursing homes. I searched for those adverse drug events in the charts. As a pharmacist, I was looking at the adverse drug events in the charts. Those nursing nursing homes were run by nurses only. And they have physician and visitor pharmacist. The pharmacist, they call it consultant pharmacist. The consultant pharmacist visits the facility once a month. What's the role of this consultant pharmacist? They go to the charts, they review the charts, and they send recommendation to the physician. They say that the responsible for monitoring, responsible to send recommendation to the physician, say, this patient needs this monitoring, this lab data. Please watch the ANR, because ANR for warfarin is more than 4.5. This patient may experience bleeding. The physician must respond to the pharmacist recommendations, okay? So you need to know how to read the charts, how to review the charts, and if you don't know the normal range of ANR for warfarin, you cannot tell if it's normal or not. So you need to know the normal range, you need to know all your information from the clinical pharmacy course, from the therapeutic course, from the hospital training course. You need to build your knowledge. So when you go and review the charts, you are an expert. You can give recommendation to the physician. Say, this is potential adverse drug events. Please stop or hold the warfarin, because warfarin will cause bleeding because the ANR is more than 4.5. So our role as a pharmacist to review the medication, to review the chart, send recommendations. We try to keep the patient safe. This is our main goal. We are an expert in the medications. We are expert in the pharmacology. We need to know what should we do. We need to advise the physician, okay? Because we are the second line of the defense. If the physician had prescribing error, you need, as a pharmacist, at your community pharmacy or in your hospital pharmacy, you need to say, this is, you have prescription error. Please, when I was a pharmacist, like after 1 year of my graduation, I had prescription from one physician, ciprofloxacin for children at that time. I told him this is wrong. He said why. I told him ciprofloxacin cannot be dispensed to children less than 12 or 16. He told me why, because it's safe. I know cephalosporin are safe. I told him this is not cephalosporin anymore. This is a new generation. This is quinolone. And he had no idea at that time, in 2001, ciprofloxacin, another group, it's not cephalosporin group. So this is our role as we are the gatekeeper. We are the second line of the defense. We need to identify and prevent any harm to the patient caused by medication. So adverse drug events, simply either medication errors or adverse drug reaction. Adverse drug reactions are non-preventable, such as dry cough caused by pathology. Medication errors are all those type of errors. Dispensing error, prescribing error, administration errors, those are preventable. Okay? Keep in mind, when I say error, it's preventable. We can prevent it. Okay? We can save the patients from all those adverse drug events. Adverse drug events is really hot topic, and that's why now we have so many research online. If you go, you find adverse drug events, because this is the role of the pharmacist. As a pharmacist now we have a new area, like in my field, I like to publish about medication safety. I presented my thesis in 3 minutes. And the topic was hot at that time at the University of Iowa, and they liked it. After they liked it, they put my picture outside in the street because they say, medication safety, what are you going to offer to the public? You will promote your research. Say, I will save thousands of patients from harm. This is a big deal because I'm going to save patients from all these adverse drug events. That's why medication safety is really public health topic. It's not only pharmacy or medical topic. It's public health topics because every single person here using kind of medications. After After we are done with adverse drug events, adverse drug reactions, medication errors, and I assume you know the difference between those terms. Do you have questions about the difference between adverse drug events, adverse drug reactions, medication error? The next step is we need to know the steps of the developing of the medications from the beginning until the medication released to the market. The first step, we need to develop the chemical structure and the formulation of these medications. So the chemistry, pharmaceutical chemistry people and pharmaceutics people, they work together, they develop medications with a specific dosage form. They say this is medication. Okay, they told me this is medication. What's the next step? After they develop this chemicals, what's the next step? I need to test it. Is it effective? Is it toxic? Is it safe? How can I know? I should try it on some of living organism because I have no idea about the safety, about the toxicity. شباب إذا ما تسمعون نزل بجوا أهم شيء يسمعون. We are not sure about the safety. Okay, so we cannot test it on a human. It's risky. We cannot take the risk. So we'll test it on what? On animals. The low class of animals, such as mice, rats, rabbits, whatever. It depends on the medication. We will test it on the mice. They say it's effective, it's safe, it's not that toxic, it has tolerable side effect. Okay, what's the next step? We are going to test it on the human. In the human, we call this clinical trial. We have three types of clinical trials, or three phases of clinical trials. I will start with small number of trials. Phase 1, between 20 and 100, okay? I will test the dose, the frequency, and the safety. Phase 1, this medication, passed phase 1. Who are the participants? Volunteer. People. You recruit people, you pay them money because they are taking the risk. This medication could be toxic. So they take the money, they sign the consent form because you are legally okay. If this patient, you need to tell the patient exactly what's his responsibility. You cannot trick them or deceive them. You cannot do this because ethically you cannot do it. I think you took this in the ethical course in pharmacy and ethics. Ethically, in the research, you need to tell the participant exactly what they are suffering because this medication may be not safe. I remember one of the vaccine has horrible side effects because something in the brain. But the participants say, I know it could have such risk. So they sign the consent form to prevent yourself, to protect yourself legally. After they pass the phase 1, they go to phase 2. Phase 2, more people, and also make sure it's safe, it's effective. After it's between 100 and 300. After passing phase 2, we go to phase 3. Phase 3 up to 3,000 of participants. After pass phase 3, wow, we are done. The medication now, they can apply for the approval. The FDA or other organization around the world, they can take a look at the clinical trial. They say it's safe, it's effective, you can release it in the market, go ahead. Good. What the next? Should we stop? Are we safe? We need to watch. Watch for what? For post-marketing. We need phase 4. We need phase 4, which is the post-marketing phase. After the medication released to the market, we need to keep watching. We need to report any adverse drug events caused by these medications. Report it to whom? reported to to the organization responsible for the pharmacovigilance. In Iraq, we have Iraqi Pharmacovigilance Center in the 11th floor, maybe, or 8th, I'm not sure. We call it Pharmacovigilance Centers, Rast al-Dawai, in Ministry of Health. Goes to the center, they receive the reports from all the Iraqi healthcare providers. And at the end of the lecture, there is a slide, has link, phone number, contact information. If you as a pharmacist or pharmacy students working in the community pharmacy and you notice some of those adverse events, you can call, you can send an email to those centers because they are collecting data from all Iraq. And they send their data to the international committee or international program. They send more than 130 countries. We are members in this international program of WHO because we care about the medication safety. If this medication released in the market, and in Iraq we have compliance about these medications, and in Turkey and in Jordan, this medication could be withdrawn from the market. And you remember in 2004, 2003, remember there was a COX-2 selective non-steroidal anti-inflammatory called rofecoxib. Rofecoxib was effective, but after release in the market, 3-4 years, they found it caused cardiac failure or cardiac attack. They withdrew this medication from the market because the post-marketing reporting. So the story doesn't end at the release to the market. We keep watching, we keep reporting. At the end of PNF, you will have sheets of paper. Those papers, yellow paper maybe, you can report any adverse events to the organizations. Keep in mind, we have 4 phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. What's the role of the pharmacovigilance? Pharmacovigilance, we usually have Center for Pharmacovigilance. What should we do as a pharmacist in this center? We need to detect, assess, and prevent. Simple. We need to detect, identify there is adverse events. We need to assess what's the cause. We need to identify the cause. Finally, we need to make recommendations. Please don't do this, do this. Or please, this medication is unstable. Don't store it in temperature less than 30, for example, or more than 30. So at the end, we need to send recommendations because we received information. Iraqi Pharmacovigilance Center will make the processing. They will study the adverse events. As a pharmacist, as a healthcare provider, we need to report any adverse events, whether it's preventable or non-preventable, both. Because you cannot tell it. You cannot tell it's preventable or not until you process or you study the case, okay? So you tell your pharmacist, please report any adverse events. For example, bleeding caused by warfarin. Is it the warfarin or is it the error? We don't know. We need to review, okay? We need to review, receive information, process information, send recommendations. So, pharmacovigilance, they need to watch adverse events, side effects, and they need to report. It's voluntary reporting. It's not required. This is maybe kind of limitation. Everything is voluntary, you know. You will have under-reporting. Because if you are not required by law, okay, it depends on your proactivity. You will say, you may report one and the second one you will not report it, you know, because it's voluntary. But other countries, maybe it's required. It's still voluntary, it's still spontaneous, it depends on you. If you care, you will report it. If I don't care, I will not report it. They don't only watch for medications, they watch for vaccination, for herbal, for medicine, biologics, medical device. any adverse drug events caused by any of those materials. What happened in the 60s of the 20th century? What happened led to WHO say, stop, we need this organization. In the 60s, there was a tragedy caused by medication called thalidomide. Thalidomide medication was approved in Europe in 1957. And they say it's safe for pregnant women to take it as anti-emetic for morning sickness. Okay? It's safe, it's okay to take it, because they have only 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, okay? At that time, they applied to take the permission from the FDA and the US FDA. The US FDA said, we cannot release it in our market because your clinical trials data, الأمريكان has ناس safety. كلش ناسي. ليش? They say you don't have enough data in your clinical trials to confirm this medication is safe. So we'll not release it in the US. And they did the right things, because eventually in Europe, when they release it, Germany and other countries, this caused, as you can see, deformities in the lips of the kids. They cause thousands of victims, they have abnormal lips. And you can see the short hand, abnormal hands, of flippers, those are victims of thalidomide. After this disaster, they withdraw this medication from the market. In 1961, WHO said, we need to stop this. We need to make these organizations, we need to invite all the world to be in one program. So this program, they call it WHO Program for International Monitoring. Sometimes they call it EPSALA. This program simply, every country send their adverse drug events to one center. One center will have good information. It's better than one center, okay? We need to collaborate as international community, because if we have reports about Diovan, you heard about some sort of Diovan, they will withdraw from the market because they have problems, carcinogenic issue. Why? Because they have compliance from more than one country, Europe and other countries. So we don't rely on one country, which is good because we have an international committee now. I have questions about why this happened. As you can see, those 3 phases, the medications usually pass all these 3 phases from 3 to 7 years. Sometimes 3 years are not enough to tell if this medication is safe, because some long-term consequences will appear after 4 or more years, okay? As in rofecoxib, as in thalidomide. So those 3 phases, the time is limited. You cannot say it's 100% safe, I can use it without watching. It's not good. You need to keep watching, okay? Importance of pharmacovigilance. We need to protect our patients. This is simple answer. What's the idea? Idea to protect, enhance medication safety. Short answer. 3 phases may be limited in time and numbers. شايف من يجيبوا الان شيء تشتغل بالوزاره مركز التسجيل كاستشاري 3 سنوات من 2007 ل 2010. يعني لازم السجل مال التسجيل الراندومايزد كنترول ترايل لازم تسوي له ريفيو تشوف ذات ريل يسجل دواء جديد، تشوف الديوريشن مالته ايش قد الكلينيكال ترايل السيفتي مالته. احنا عندنا بالعراق اكو شيء اسمه هاي كوميتي اور هاي بورد فور ميديكيشن سelection. اللجنه العليا لانتقاء الادويه هي المسؤوله عن ادخال الادويه الجديده. هي تقول هذا الدواء يدخل، هذا الدواء ما يدخل، هذا محتاج، هذا ما يحتاج. تشبه الFDA الامريكي. مسميات مختلفه. Objective of pharmacovigilance: we care about the medication safety, we care about the public health safety. Could you give me an example about public health disaster happened in the last month in one of the southern province of Iraq? In Basra, what we had kind of
Water toxicity.
yeah, toxicity from water contamination. So public health means large scale. When I say public health, it's epidemic or pandemic, it depends on the term. So it's affected large number of people. So public health, in Iraq we have public health problem of smoking now, of hookah smoking, for example. It's public health concern. And the United States, they have now, in my university, University of Iowa, they say we need to make smoking-free campus. They decided you cannot smoke within the campus building. If you want to smoke, you need to go 15 feet outside the campus, the university. Okay? Not outside the building, outside the campus. Imagine. They care about the public health because they say smoking, they cause second-hand smoking. Second-hand smoking, you know, is same as active smoking, may cause all these lung cancer and other consequences. Simply, they need to protect the public health. So we need to protect the public. When I talk about clinical trial, when I say phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, you have no idea what's going on in phase 2, phase 1, phase 3. We need to know what's going on there. We have something called randomized control trial. We have new medications. We need to test these medications on volunteer people. We need to divide this volunteer into 2 groups, control and intervention group, or test group, okay? How can we do something? We do something called randomization. What do we mean by randomization? We need to divide. Why we care about randomization? Why do you think I just say without randomization? I can divide them without randomization. What's the advantage of the randomization? We need to reduce the bias. What do we mean by bias? And here's here. For example, if I assign the sick people in the control group and I assign the healthy people in the test group, when my medication works, I say, okay, I have fantastic results because look to my medication is better than the control group. While the control group, they are sick people. They didn't respond well because I had bias. I mentioned advocates here. But randomization will prevent bias because I will say, I will choose, I have no idea who are you guys, so I will choose the 4th name from the list and every 4th name. For example, I will choose Hind Ahmed Ali, رقم 1. أعبر 4 أسماء أختار اللي وراها. طه عبد الصاحب، أعبر 4 أخرى. دلال عارف، أعبر 4 مروة زايد. Every 4th name. تشوف؟ هذا سؤال randomizations. اكو هيك برامج بالكمبيوتر ممكن تسويها. simple انت تختار كل سادس اسم، كل رابع اسم، كل ثالث اسم. عندك الليست يلا سوي randomization. We assign the participant into test group and control group. When I say control group, keep in mind doesn't have to be placebo. نحن نصطلح placebo احنا عبالنا control group على طول ياخذون شكر ونخلي لهم starch لا doesn't have to be. For example, if I need to test Diovan, I need to test Diovan against what? I cannot test Diovan against starch or glucose because it's antihypertensive medication. I need to test it against the conventional or the usual medication, for example, Cabotegin. So at the end of the trial, I will say that Diovan, which is new medication, is better than the current medication. I cannot test it against sugar. Because sugar or placebo pills, it's unethical to leave sick patients or patients with that hypertension without treatment, okay? So keep in mind control group could be conventional medication, could be control with placebo. I need you to know the randomization, I need you to know why we call it randomization, why we call it control, because we have control group. We have something called blinded. I don't want to go there because I didn't tell at the first group about it. So you need to know individual case report. We have triage. Triage means when there's an emergency or something wrong happened to the people, like during the war or during the public health disasters, when you have so many people injured, you cannot treat them all. You need to give priority. So I mean what priority? You know, person with the most urgent need will enter the emergency room first. Then the healthcare providers visit those injured or sick people. They say, you are urgent, you are red color, you need to be admitted immediately. While you are in kind of stable condition, you can wait a couple hours, you are yellow. The other ones, you are okay, you can go home, you are green. Triage means try to classify the cases according to the severity. Severe, less severe, no severity. And this is the simple definition of triage. The WHO definition of adverse drug reactions, it's a response to drug which is not unintended. No intention. يعني ما بتقصدي، نحن ما بتقصدي. طبعا أنا عايزك تقصد، يعني تعرفون أنتوا after before you graduate you will have the oath of the pharmacy. I will not do intentional harm to the patient. I will not لا أعطي دواء بقصد الإضرار. هذا القسم من الصيدلة. I will not intentionally harm patients by medication. So it's unintentional. It happened by accident. Unlisted or unexpected adverse drug reaction. Listed where? Listed in the leaflet. Pamphlet. Every medication has leaflet, you know this. And they usually list all the adverse drug reactions, even the rare ones. If this adverse drug reaction is not listed here, we call it unlisted. That's simple, okay? Listed is available in the list, and we know about it. Side effect, it's adverse drug reactions, the same term. Sometimes they are tolerable, some other times they are intolerable. Keep in mind, some side effects could be helpful sometimes, but adverse drug reactions usually not helpful, harmful. Side effect, for example, we could use, for example, metformin will cause weight loss. We can use it for the obesity, which is, we call it off-label use. Off-label use. Off-label means it's not indicated in the literature or in the leaflet, but you use it. Some physicians they try to use it off-label. استعمل شيء أدوية off-label. يعني مثل الجماعة بيستخدمون مثلا dexamethasone كمشابه. وأنه misuse. بس يقول لك هذا off-label. Signal. How can we identify the signal? What do we mean by signal? Signal means we have medications. Medication cause adverse drug events. Okay? We need to have something called causal relationship or causality. What do you mean by causality? Causality is simple. We have cause, the cause causes the effect. How can we make sure this medication causes the effect? We need to exclude other potential factors. For example, if this elderly guy who are smoker experience lung cancer, we need to know, is the smoking the only reason for the cancer? We need to make sure, is there any radiation? Is there any genetic factor? Is there any other environmental factor? So make sure these medications cause the adverse drug events. The other term you need to know is the temporal. Temporal means in sequence, in time. You cannot tell the warfarin caused the bleeding unless you know the warfarin was taken before the bleeding happened. You cannot tell whether warfarin caused the bleeding unless you know the warfarin was taken before the bleeding. Okay? By what? By reviewing the chart. Confirmed signal, we know this medication was taken before the incidence. We know this is the only, so it's confirmed. Refutes or false, we didn't find causal relationship. Causal, we didn't find direct relationship. Unconfirmed, we still under study. For example, this patient with with cancer had smoking, we need to study all the risk factors for this patient to make sure. So it's not 100% confirmed. Frequency of adverse drug reactions, if it's more than 10%, it's very common. It's less than 0.01%, it's very rare, and you can see that. What do you mean by de-challenge? De-challenge means we need to withdraw the drug from the market because we convert, like the rofecoxib or thalidomide. We did withdraw it from the market because it caused what? Caused the adverse events. Re-challenge, we return or we release the drug again to the market. If we study the case, the first case we say we suspend it because the medication usually they don't do the drug therapy. They say stop using it, hold it until we study the case. If they study the case, they found it is not guilty, it's innocent, and we release it again. Otherwise, we withdraw it from the market. Okay? You need to know the terms. Passive pharmacovigilance. What do you mean by passive? Spontaneous or voluntary. اللي دي يصير عندنا بالعالم. More required by law. It's not required by law. Even in the States, when I was in the University of Iowa, student there, I was looking for adverse drug events in nursing homes. The nursing homes, they are not required by law to report any adverse drug events. They only report the serious adverse drug events, such as the resident fall, such as injury, such as bed sore, fracture, the serious one, okay? The other ones, they are not required by law to report it. So if you are not required by law to report it, they usually have under-report. They go, for example, 10 cases happen today, you may report only one. So it's not exact number. We call it under-reporting. And we have this problem in the system when it's spontaneous or voluntary. In some countries, it would be mandatory. Mandatory means it's required. Active pharmacovigilance. Active means we need to train our team. Our team actively what do you mean by proactive? سامعين واحد احنا بالعراق يسوي له والله هذا اكتف، يعني شنو اكتف؟ احنا بالعراق نسوي اكتف، هو برو اكتف يعني نشط، يعني هو يدور، يعني اكو طلاب مثلا احنا عندنا كانوا باليونيفرستي اوف ايوا، طلابهم برو اكتف، هو يريد يشارك بالنشاط، هو يروح يسوي النشاط، هو يشارك بالاورجنايز، يعني ما ينتظر انت تتوجه لك دعوه ولو تقبل او ما تقبل، لا هو يروح يسوي النشاط، احنا بوقتها الطلاب العراقيين سوينا نشاط ويا العربيك ستودنت اسوشيشن، سوينا طبعا سوشيال اكتيفيتي وبوقتها الرعي مالتها راح للاجئين السوريين، كونفرزيشن كان حلو سوينا عليه تدريب اكتيفلي، احنا برو اكتيفلي احنا رحنا، يعني انا من الناس رحت عليهم قلت لهم انتم ايش عندكم؟ قالوا احنا عندنا الشهر الرابع، هذا الحكي اقرا، قالوا الشهر الرابع راح نبلش عندكم انتم فعاليه، هذا الحكي الشهر الثامن قبل سنه، انا ادري راح يصير الشهر الرابع العربيك ستودنت اسوشيشن، يصير عندهم الاسبوع العربيك نايت. فاحنا قبل 6 اشهر احنا رحنا وتحضرنا وقمنا نسوي اكتيفيتي ونسوي تريننج، لان احنا برو اكتف احنا طوعنا. هذا سؤال برو اكتف، انت لازم تسوي برو اكتف، لازم تسوي تريننج. يعني الستاف مالتك، يعني هسه احنا عندنا بالوزاره دكتوره منال ودكتوره هديل، وعندنا مثلا دار صحه الاقتصاد الدكتور محمد اقدام، يعني هم يسوون على طول ورك شوب، يلمون الصيادله والصيادله السريريين والصيادله اللي خارجين جده المستشفيات ويعطون تعريف. يعني هسه هنا من ناحيه السلايدات راح نشوفها بالعربي، هذا هو انطاني الرجل قال يخليها الطلاب اذا يشوفون اي ادفيرس ايفنتس ممكن يدزون هذا الادفيرس ايفنتس على الكونتاكت انفورميشن. هذا سؤال برو اكتف. I need to train my team. So the team will work proactively. Okay? يعني مو كل واحد يقول انا ايش علي وانا ما علي، يا معود بعوف من دوله. يعني هذا ما راح نمشي ولا راح نتطور ولا نتقدم خطوه، اذا انت ما علي وانا ايش علي، هو بقت علي، يا معود هي بقت علي، هي خربانه، بس انا بقت علي، بدك تشوفها خربانه ما يخالف، انت سوي الرو مالتك انا اسوي الرو مالتي، اذا كل واحد يقدم شيء بسيط نقدر نتحرك خطوه للامام، اذروايز احنا باقيين. Coding of adverse drug events. Something called verbatim. What do you mean by coding? After we review the charts, we need to give numbers and code to the events. يعني مثلا warfarin cause bleeding. أي warfarin cause bleeding؟ مثلا عندنا رمز ال مثلا 9. 9 هو مثلا warfarin cause. مثلا diazepam cause 4 نعطيها 10. كودينج يعني كل انسيدنس نعطيها رقم او نعطيها اسم او نعطيها حرف. هو هذا معنى الكودينج. يعني نعبر انه بعد ما نحكي بلغه هذا this patient was admitted because he had bleeding induced by warfarin for 5 days. ما حد يقرا الجمله كامله. واذا تريد تسوي لها حساب بالاكسل شيت ما راح تطلع عندك. اذا تريد تنزل بالاكسل شيت تنزل بس رقم 9. رسم رقم 9 تقول لي انت warfarin induced bleeding خلاص هاي عرفت؟ من اريد اسوي عليه احصائيه اقدر اعرف راسا كم واحد عنده رقم 9. دوسه واحده بالاكسل شيت. بس انت اذا تكتب لي جريده ما راح تقدر اسوي له ستاتس فتعطيني كود. بس ان شاء الله تتعلمون من طلاب دراسات اذا كنتم ماسك تجونين. عراقي فارماكوفيجيلانس سيستم سنتر كنا المرصد العراقي للرصد الدوائي اللي هو قرابه 11 اعتقد بوزاره الصحه ليقومون معمل رائع وجميل. Iraqi Pharmacovigilance centers, they train the pharmacist to report any adverse drug events. طبعا الشغل مالهم ما يقتصر على adverse drug events، الشغل مالهم انه كان هو من دا احله دا يطلع خابط، من دا احله دا يطلع اصفر، هذا من دا يدخل بالخزن دا يقرا، هذول كلهم تسوون ريبورت. وانت شلون من يدري انه انت شفته بالمركز مالتك سويت ريبورت، انا سويت له ريبورت، الوزاره راح تستعمل فلان دول اذا يلتزم فلان درجه حراره راح يحترق. حاولوا تخلوه بالثلاجه مثلا. اذا انت ساهمت، انا ساهمت لانه انت اذا ما ساهم وما سوي ريبورت انا ما ادري انا احكي البيشنت البيشنت يموت او يتضرر. فالريبورت مالتك يعني يو ويل سيف لايف، يعني انت لا تستهين بقدراتك، لا تستهين بالاكشن الصغير اللي اخذته. سوري. خلاص. Who should report? All healthcare providers, even the patients. Everyone should report. Okay? Taking all the appropriate measures. We need to keep watching. We need to report. We need to make recommendations. What's to be reported? We need to report anything about new medications within the 5 first year. يعني انت تركز على الادويه الجديده. خاصه الادويه الجديده. Okay? Report any adverse reactions occurring from overdose or medication error. What's to be reported? ملاحظة نسيت أقول لكم إياها. In clinical trials, we usually test medication on the healthy adult volunteer. يعني هاي clinical trials تصير phase 1 phase 2 ما ياخذون بها pregnant، ما ياخذون بها pediatrics، ما ياخذون بها children. هاي weakness limitation. ليش؟ لأنه بدون ما نعرف تأثير على الحمل، ما نعرف تأثير على الطفل. نسوي بعدين adjustment الدوز مال الأدلت حسب الطفل حسب الكي جي. بس احنا ما خاليهم لأنه برا يتخبرون نسوي ضغط على الأطفال وعلى البريجننت وعلى vulnerable people or groups والسجناء وطلاب يعتبرون مغلوبين على أمرهم. لازم تاخذ كونسنت من اهاليهم من الجارديانز تقول اوكي، يعني ما يصير انت يعني انا مره رحت للمدرسه بنتي عمرها 5 سنين كنا قاعده لقيت وحده باحثه صغيره كان يقول لي انت ابو جنه؟ قلت له ايه. كان يقول لي عندي هذا البحث، قلت له شو البحث مالتك؟ قالت انا مدرسه مال رياضيات وقاعد اسوي طريقه جديده وقالت تشرح لي ولازم تشرح لي وهذا اخر شيء وافق طبعا شاركنا بالشو اسمه. بس هو الفكره انه انتم لازم الجارديان موافق كونسنت، يعني مو انت تجي طفل تسوي بحث به وحتى ما يوافق، لازم اخذ كونسنت. Product quality, any of those problems they should be reported. شغال؟ ممكن تقول سمعنا؟
لا بس الباتري.
Suspect contamination, stability, component labeling، اي مشكله اي شيء تسوي ريبورت. شو راح يسوون؟ حيسووا له لسته يسوي لك ريكومنديشن. هاي هديه من المركز العراقي للرصد الدوائي، خليكم اياها
اسم المريض ومعلوماته والحال المرض والهذا وتفاصيل الادفيرس ايفنتس. الدكتور محمد حطام دزلي هاي البارحه على الماسنجر خطيه لسه ما عندي اليوم المعارض عن الماسنجر. قال الطلاب اذا تشوفون اي ادفيرس ايفنتس اذا تريدون يصيرون على الايميل تقابلون مع الوزاره احنا نتشكر من جهودكم. عندكم اي سؤال؟